I bought my first home at the age of 26. Not the youngest ever, but ahead of the industry average. Less than 10 years later, I own multiple properties. I even had 3 on the same street. My real estate journey started with a simple goal. I wanted to have a couple rental properties, right? So I wanted to get into rehabbing properties, create some value, and build wealth. What I didn't realize at the time was that along the way, I'd gain a unique perspective on buying and selling properties.
Hello, this is the HackHour podcast, a show where it's all about helping real, everyday, hardworking remodelers learn the secrets to having it all in life and business. And now, here's your host, Mike Minges.
One that would eventually lead me to ask a couple key questions, right? 2 of them are, why aren't more remodelers doing this? And do I really need a real estate agent to help me buy and or sell? See, a few years into the real estate investing game, I noticed something. Like the biggest bottleneck in real estate wasn't just finding deals. That is part of it. But really, where most people struggle is getting the project done. It's in the finding of the workers, right? Finding good, reliable remodelers and contractors. See, as we know, most remodelers, we're great at our craft, right? But boy, are we terrible at running a business efficiently. And honestly, it's not always our fault, right? If you think about it, most of us, we don't share a lot on average, right? If you look at the industry as a whole, most successful remodelers aren't talking about how they do it and how they got there. And if they do, it's not even accurate, right? Because they're just guessing a lot of the times. And the reality is, look, when you've worked hard and had to struggle and grind and you survived and you're not always sure why, sometimes it's just merely for the fact that you wouldn't give up. You don't want to give away anything to your competition because there's that fear that they'll come take it from me because I'm not even sure how I'm doing it sometimes, right? So understand that a lot of people in the industry, they're really not completely aware of why they're successful. Sure, they have some things. I have good referrals. I take care of my customer. But what does all that mean? Like, could they put that system on paper and explain it to you or hand it to you and say, here's the guide, here's how you should do it? No, most guys can't do that. Look, as we know, most of us, right, we grind for years and we improve rather slowly, right? And often without like a real business strategy. The average guy in this industry is really just self-employed. They're not running a business. The demand for remodelers is large. It's big. And every time we were, like myself, if I bought a house and I set up on that street in the neighborhood, man, it was nonstop that people were asking if we could come do work for them. And that is when it started to hit me. It's like, man, you know what it is? Most homeowners, they don't know who to hire. And they pay attention to things. If they see that you have consistent work being done and it looks proper and you keep the yard clean and the job site's nice and your crew's respectful and isn't parked all weird and blocking up the street all the time, neighbors, homeowners see that crew working and they start to assume that, man, these guys must be pretty good. The work looks good. Somebody else was willing to hire them. And that was, so a couple of these factors together led me to launching my own remodeling business so that I could start capturing all this additional work. It's one thing you'll know about me throughout the years is if I see people wanting a service that I could provide, why am I turning it away from them? If someone has money and they're like, hey, we'd like to hire you to do this. If I'm capable of doing it and I can do it profitably, right? It's not going to negatively impact other areas of my life, then I don't see any reason why not to do it. All right. Now, there's always a shade of gray in life, right? Things aren't 100% black and white. Understand that. So Let's look at this. So you take remodeling, you take real estate investing, and it really can be a good wealth building combo for a lot of remodelers in the industry. See, think about it this way. If you can successfully rehab and invest in the real estate, man, it can help your business in many different ways. Look, I am not saying that every remodeler should suddenly get into the real estate investing game, right? Because the reality is not everyone is, while anyone can do it, not everyone should, because not everyone's going to be successful. There are some nuances. But what I would say is if you're willing to learn the process and take smart, calculated risks, it's an opportunity that you shouldn't ignore, and I would investigate it further. So this is what today's episode's about. I want to help you understand how, if you want to get into the real estate world, that you can actually be your own agent. Many people have a false belief that you have to have a real estate agent to either buy or sell property. And I can demonstrate for you and talk with you about how I've personally bought and sold real estate investment properties without agents. Sometimes there was no agent involved at all. I was the buyer and the seller did. So I, as the buyer, didn't have an agent. The seller didn't have an agent. All we had to do was find a proper attorney, title, and settlement companies, and we could transact the deal. And that's happened multiple times. So I want you to understand that you can do this. And look, on one hand, you can save good money because you're not paying out commissions, right? Real estate commissions have slowly gone up over the years. They haven't come down. And there's less knowledgeable realtors in circumstances where I found I was educating them. So why am I teaching them how to do their job and paying this big commission when I did all the hard work of rehabbing the property? Anyway, so understand this. You can do it. And sometimes you'll streamline the process, right? Because there are agents out there that muck up the waters when it comes to real estate investing, because that's not always their forte. They're used to the traditional homeowner, home buyer, home seller transaction. All right. So there's some nuances to all this. All right. Now, I have written a book on this. If you want to go deeper into this subject of being your own agent, right? Ditching the agent altogether. That's the name of the book. It's called Ditching Agents. And you can get that book over at homesolo.com. That's HOMSOLO.com. Anyhow, but let me get through more, give you some more information here. So why did I start questioning real estate agents? Look, I've been on all sides and I have a lot of experience in real estate transactions. So I have bought property. I've bought it with using a real estate agent, and I have bought it without. I have sold properties. I have sold them by utilizing real estate agents, and I have sold them without agents. I myself went and got my own real estate license. So at one time I was a licensed real estate agent, right? I am also now, right, I wasn't when I first got into the business, but then over time I decided I will become a licensed contractor. And when I first got into the business, I did home inspections and you didn't have to be licensed. And then that law came into effect. So then I became a licensed home inspector. So I've been around a lot of real estate transactions, seen it from every angle. And I've realized over time that just like anything else, there's some good agents and there's some not so good agents, right? And what I was experiencing personally was often I found that I knew more about the real estate nuances of buying and selling investment properties than the agents I was trying to sometimes have to work with or transact with, right? So that's what started this journey of saying, do I even really need them? No, I didn't. And how do I go about successfully not utilizing them? So I was saying to myself, like, why am I giving away thousands of dollars when I'm basically doing the agent's job for them, right? And why am I explaining to another professional how to handle the deal I hired them for, right? And then you're like, well, really, how hard can this whole thing be? And what I want you guys to understand is yes, you need to be educated, all right? So understand that. You have to have a foundation. But once you have the foundation and education, and if you work with some other key people, like a good title and settlement company, then you can do this on your own. So, yes, real estate has complexities. And yes, there are legal and financial aspects that you need to be aware of and understand. But buying and selling a home without an agent is absolutely possible. And again, that was one of the reasons why I wrote that book, Ditching Agents. And another reason is I talk about it here because I want remodelers to understand that you don't necessarily have to have the agent. Okay, so let's talk about a few more things here. Real estate, like law and finance, is full of specific terms and they carry weight. And if you misuse a term, it can cost you, right? Because one, you're creating a misunderstanding, you're misspeaking. Okay, so the last thing you want to do is find yourself saying, yeah, I said that, but that's not what I meant. So I would challenge a lot of you, if you want to get into this, to learn to be specific, detailed, and clear in all your communication. Learn what specific real estate terms are and how they apply. And slow down when you speak and think before you start speaking, right? These words matter. And you don't want to just talk so that you sound knowledgeable, right? Empty words can cost you money in real estate. And there's some nuances, right? There's some tricky things. And there's new things happening all the time. Not that it's new in America, but what you're seeing, some things that are becoming more prevalent is like squatting, and how squatters are making it more difficult for, home buyers and home sellers. There's price escalation clauses, and it's important that you understand how they work. You have to understand, one, maybe how to write one up yourself if you're trying to buy a property. And two, if you're selling a property, you want to make sure that you understand how price escalation clauses work, because you may be accepting an offer and there could be that price escalation clause that's attached to it. All right. So, look, some final advice here. Like, understand that in today's market, there's a lot of scams. They're everywhere. And my best advice, if you're going to try to transact real estate without an agent, is you just never take anyone's word for anything. People like to tell you what they think they want you to hear. And the reality is that a lot of people get away with this in other areas because so many people today are just distracted. They're not paying attention. They're medicated. They're going through life in a fog. And you have to be smarter than that. You have to be alert and on your A game. I'll give you an example of how this stuff can happen. I would have a rental property and I put it up for rent. I was my own agent. So what that means is in my state, I can use something called the MLS, multiple list service, and I can put a property up for rent and I can act as an agent, right? I'm my own. There's no real estate agent involved. It's me. So I pay money to this service. It puts it on the real estate service. It's a web service. And what that does is it then puts my listing, my rental, out to all of the websites, right? All the popular ones that people are using, and even some of the ones that aren't popular that people may use. So that way, homeowners and real estate agents, or realtors as they like to be called, can all find that I'm renting a property. Now, I have found over the years that when it comes to renting a property, real estate agents tend to bring me better qualified individuals. I still, to this day, if I'm renting something, I put my own sign up. I have a website that I utilize. I advertise on myself. I like to be involved in the real estate transaction because I have found that if I do a good job of sorting through who the new tenant's going to be, that I have way less headaches for the next several years, right? So I've had tenants as long as 11, 12 years, and you do that by finding good tenants. Yes, it takes a little bit longer up front. It's a little bit more of a hassle. I may not have the unit rented within the first week, but by being patient and finding a good tenant, if you wanted to get into the rental business, it pays for itself down the road, right? I've had some bad tenants. I've made mistakes. I misjudged somebody's character and who they say they were and what they were about. And you'd be shocked sometimes. It doesn't matter if it's a man, a woman, this nationality, that nationality. There are just bad people in general, and there's good people in general, right? And there's a lot of people that like to lie and try to get away, and they think for some people, life is all about scamming somebody. It's scamming the man, it's scamming the system. And it's taken me years over the course of my life to often spot that person. Sometimes even, some of these people are excellent at what they do. So anyway, just be cautious. If you're not going to use an agent, you want to make sure you're not being scammed. So back to this rental property, someone, I had it listed all over social media. What happens is this: someone else will take my photos, my listing information, my description. They will post on platforms that they are the person renting said property. Now, here's where it gets real tricky. So somebody else is pretending that they own the property and they're renting it. So now people in the world via the internet are seeing a property that's for rent, and they are contacting the ad. And that ad is giving the contact information to someone other than me, the person who's pretending that they're me, technically. And then that person says, well, yeah, I'd love to show you the house, and you got to fill out an application. I need a deposit. We're going to have to get you a lease. And then they will then go and try to rent the place. Now, here's where it can get even trickier. They may call me and act like they're interested in showing the place, but they're going to potentially even show it to someone else to make it even seem more authentic. And then they'll make up a fake lease and then rent the property. And if that person that they rented to can get into the house somehow, they could stake and take residence. And now I'm basically dealing with a squatter who doesn't know that they're a squatter. This person thinks that they've rented the place, but the whole thing was a scam, right? And it sounds complex, and you may not follow 100% if you haven't been in the industry for a while. But all of this stuff does happen, can happen. It's not a matter of if sometimes, it's just a matter of when. And you want to be vigilant. So where I go with this is, if you're going to act as your own agent and you're going to be letting people come look at a property, whether it's for rent or for sale, don't take their word for it that they're just interested in the house. Require documentation, information, copies of driver's licenses, have them fill out an application, right? Have someone meet them at the property to ensure that the person who initially said they were coming to look at the property is actually the person who is then coming to look at the property. Don't let people into your property alone. They need to be supervised, right? I'm not saying somebody has to follow them around the whole house. That's not the point. But someone needs to be there and oversee the showing, okay? Do you have to do this? No. Could you not do this and everything go perfectly fine? Absolutely. Happens all the time. And also, could you have a huge problem if you don't supervise? Yes. And it happens to people as well. So both can be equally as true. What I'm saying is, be careful and be smart. Okay, so don't do things off of verbals and handshakes. Get things in writing. Have people fill out an actual proper application. Get documentation of things. If you're going to use contracts, make sure that you have an experienced lawyer or like a title company look over things, right? You want to make sure that you're using properly licensed and experienced lawyers and title companies to take care of helping you with doing any transfers of ownerships. And always verify. And often when something sounds too good, you know it probably is. And understand this: I have come across some amazingly good scammers. There are some people out there that they are pros. They're professionals. And if it's not in your nature to scam, you can at times start recognizing, wow, this person's like perfect. They're saying all the right things. And something almost has to go off in the back of your head to say, man, this is almost too good. Like, I don't know if I should, this is exactly what I want in theory, but maybe I shouldn't be trusting it. And all I can say is it's just taken me time. Some of you might pick this up right away, never have an issue with it. But, I mean, I've had all different situations. I've had an uncle rent for their niece. I've had parents rent for their daughters, right? So like oftentimes in the beginning, I wasn't even meeting the tenant. I was meeting the person that was technically the guarantor, right? The person who was signing the lease and paying for everything. Now going forward in the last several years, I don't care who's signing and paying for it. I'm also meeting whoever's going to be living in the unit, right? Or the property as it be. And then when it comes to buying or selling, you want to know who you're transacting with, who the actual owner is, right? Who the actual buyer is. And sometimes you think you're talking to the person, but then you find out you're talking to their brother, or no, my mom's buying the house. Okay, but well, I'm doing all the legwork for her. She's busy, right? Well, if your mom's the one that's going to be signing all the paperwork, and if your mom's the one that's going to be actually the technical legal owner, then your mom is the one that we need to be dealing with, right? So you understand that you just have to verify everything in this industry. So let's see what else. So, inside the book, some things we also talk about is just making sure that you don't get taken advantage of. Understanding like all the different fees that come up. Understand that, look, even without real estate agents involved, there's still probably at least, 2% of your transaction price if you're buy or sell. There's fees involved, right? There's local and state transfer type taxes, and there's different fees that your title company will help you understand, so that you can see, because some things in some states the buyer has to pay something, in other states like the seller's responsible for. So understand that there's still going to be some fee involved when you buy and sell, and all that is, some of it's negotiable, some of it's dictated by your state laws. So that's where it comes into play that you find a reputable title attorney, things like, and a good lawyer that is experienced in buying and selling of properties. Okay. And that'll make a big difference. So you can, as far as contracts go for buying and selling, you can get various contracts right off the internet. Contracts only going to be as good as it is applicable to your state. So I know so many guys in this industry are cheap, right? A lot of you guys don't want to spend any money to do anything because you don't charge enough. And like, understand this, when you start charging, this is a side topic tangent, right? When you start charging enough in your remodeling business, then you will start recognizing that it's much easier to buy the things and pay for the things that you need to protect you in the long run. So anyway, if you find yourself frustrated that it's going to cost you a few dollars to have an attorney review the real estate contract that you want to use, then I don't know what to tell you. Like, I guess you just aren't making enough money, because if you're making enough money in the buying and selling of the properties and your remodeling business, then the money that you spend to have the attorney review the contract is worth its weight in gold, because it's going to protect you in the future to help keep you out of court and any other litigation and sign in a bad deal, right? So I would share that. So what I'm getting to at the end of the day is you can use your own contract. You don't have to have a real estate agent just to have a real estate contract, okay? Because that sometimes messes people and confuses them. And the other thing is, so if you're the owner of a property and you want to sell it, you can just as easily sell it to someone with an agent as someone without. And if there is someone with an agent, don't feel like you have to be bullied or pressured by that real estate agent to do things their way. You're the seller. You can dictate, as long as what you're doing is legal in your state. Like, you can explain to them that this is how the transaction is going to take place. And you can say, this is where we're going to handle these things. This is who's handling them. And if your buyer is happy to purchase this house, then this is the process and this is how it's going to go down. And I know that you'll get some pushback. Some of you might give me pushback just hearing me speak, but I can share from my personal experience that if I am selling a property, I am going to be letting everyone know that this is how we're going to go about doing it, and this is where we're going to do it, okay? Because I want to make sure I'm dealing with reputable people. If you understand people in general, most people just aren't good at what they do, right? The average person in America is just lazy, okay? It's the bottom line. It's by nature. People are just lazy, and they make dumb mistakes, right? And today, especially the amount of people that are just on medication or drugs or are high all the time, it's a wonder that anything gets done properly. So you want to make sure that the people you're dealing with are level-headed, right? And they know what they're doing, and they're A-plus players. So that's my recommendation to you guys if you want to get into the business and try to work without an agent. So let's see, what else do I have here? Again, you can get the book over at homesolo.com. And what I would say is, look, as a remodeler, most of you guys, you have the expertise of, if you know how to remodel properties from top to bottom, and if you are able to be efficient and manage a schedule and keep guys organized, then you could totally get into the real estate investing game. And follow me for a minute. I am not saying that you work for other real estate investors. I'm saying you become the real estate investor. You buy the property, okay? And then you do the rehab remodel. Now look, some of you are excellent at finding high-end clients, and you know how to sell high profit margins, and that may very well be much more profitable to you. And it is also possible that every now and then you can come across a property, something that they would call a fixer-upper or a vacant property. Maybe you're working in a neighborhood and the person you're working for says, we inherited this property 15 years ago. It's been in our family for 30 years. Nobody's lived in it for the last 10. We don't know what to do with the property. And you could be like, cha-ching, would you be interested in possibly selling it? And you might come across very good deals that you can purchase without a lot of competition because you're able to buy it direct. You can explain to the homeowner, well, I might be interested in taking a look at the property. Let me ask you, if I look at the property and it's something that we're interested in, would you be comfortable if we just did a transaction between the two of us? We'll work with a local title attorney, settlement company, and we don't have to get any realtors involved, and all the money goes to you. You don't have to pay commissions. So it keeps my costs down and puts more money in your pocket, makes the transaction a lot simpler and smoother. You don't have to worry about any inspections or any, we're just going to transact. You're going to say it's for sale and I'm going to buy it from you. So when you start understanding that you can get that done, you'd be shocked at the opportunities that you might just come across because you're already in the business of remodeling. You could be working in a neighborhood, and while you're driving to the neighborhood or leaving the neighborhood, you see a property, and you know what I'm talking about. If you want to get into the business, it's that property that needs work, or it just hasn't been maintained and it's run down, right? And you ask the neighbor the family that you're working for, hey, do you guys know anything about that house down the street? No, it's been an eyesore. We're hoping somebody buys it. Oh, well, who owns it? Well, this so-and-so inherited it from da-da-da, and they moved out of state. Well, do you know where they live? We do. They live over here because we've had to send them notices from the neighborhood association, right? Like, before you know it, you can track down the owner and you might be able to buy that property from an out-of-state owner. So anyway, there's opportunity out there. And from my experience, if you have the guys and you have the contacts to remodel and renovate properties, then if you are the one that owns the property, it can be very profitable. Okay, you go in, you get out. All right, so be open to that idea if that's something that interests you. All right, so why do a lot of remodelers just hesitate and not take the leap? A lot of guys think that they have to have a real estate agent to get involved in buying or selling, right? A lot of remodelers just think that it's just a complicated process. A lot of remodelers, this baffles me, just aren't really financially attuned, I guess is the way to put it. Like, just are uncomfortable around discussing finances and understanding financing and finances. And I think a lot of it just stems from not charging enough in the first place. So a lot of guys are just broke, right? And so that could very well be a possibility. So like if that's you, if you find that you're like broke and you can't afford stuff, that should be a clue to say, I need to learn how to start charging more money. Right? And we'd be happy to help you over here at the Remodeling Academy get that done so that you can start saying, maybe it's time that I learned how all these finances work and how I could leverage things. So in my opinion, if you are an excellent remodeler, then you have the skills, right, that mostly can help you. You just have to be willing to learn some of the nuances to buying and selling property. And that's it. And that to me is the easy part. So my things I would suggest to you, just some takeaways from this episode here, is you don't need a real estate agent to buy or sell a home. A lot of you have access to something called a flat fee MLS service, and that can give you the same exposure for your properties for buying, for selling, or trying to rent them as any real estate agent has. If you understand basic social media and digital marketing, boom, there you go. Now you can put the property out there just like a real estate agent would do. So you don't need them for that. And again, remodelers, you guys have a massive advantage in investing because you know how to get the work done. That's the biggest challenge for most investors after they buy the house. So, look, the reality is that people that are successful for the most part in real estate investing, they just have a knack for finding property, right? And they're disciplined, they're efficient, and they have an idea of data. So they understand how to be data driven. And if you can start doing just a few of those little things, you could be just as successful, if not more, actually. So some final thoughts here for you guys is, look, you already spend your career making homes more valuable for others. So why not learn how to put that skill together to build more wealth and value for yourself as well? And think about it this way. I mean, you literally, if you purchase the property properly in the beginning, it's a way that you can pay your guys to go do the remodel for you, rehab, and then you sell it. Everybody gets paid. Your company earns money, and you get a profit on top at the end. And for those of you that really start getting savvy in this industry, you start setting up more than one company. So what happens is you have the real estate investment company on one hand, and then they hire your remodeling company. So what this can do is help you with tax planning and being efficient and all these things that really can do well for you in how you guys make sure that you're seeing more of your money. So again, a lot of the things here I'm touching on, it's why I've created the Remodeling Academy, and specifically it's why I created the Remodel Rebels program. It's to help remodelers, right, earn more money and be better in this industry, right, and finally reap some rewards. So inside of the Remodel Rebels program, we help teach you guys how to navigate real estate investing, right? And master the business side of remodeling so you can really take control of a financial future. So if something like that is of interest to you, then the next thing you do, if you think, hey, I've got what it takes, or I'm willing to learn, right? I have that desire, then get over to the 5-day Remodeler Challenge at remodelingriches.com. That's all you got to remember, remodelingriches.com, right? And there you go. So if you're ready to level up, you're ready to make some bigger moves and stop leaving money on the table, man, you have a chance to see if you have what it takes to join the Remodel Rebels, right? Community of remodelers. We aren't just running businesses. We're here. We're building wealth. So get your butt over, remodelingriches.com. Take the challenge, and we'll see. Do you have what it takes? I don't know. You should know. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the HackHour podcast. It would be awesome if you would leave us a quick review on iTunes. To further your remodeling success, go to remodelingriches.com.